arranged to accompany each other there. She hadn't given her word, after all. But she wasn't there when he arrived. Neither was she at Warneck's or on Sandgasse, where she rented a room from Frau Wognitz. She must have set off quite early that morning, if she'd even been home at night. And this was why he, for the first time, had decided to go there. Go where? The constable asked. To Funkenberg, to the garden restaurant. Perhaps she had wanted to get there early to secure a table by the bandstand. But he'd heard from some acquaintances loitering at the old brewery that she had been seen earlier that morning on the Brohl, strolling arm in arm with a soldier named Buechner, and he was already acquainted with this Buechner, a tall and handsome fellow with a ruddy complexion, a bristled mustache, and whiskers. He had already seen the two of them together several times, once in Bosun's garden. He had passed them at close range and decided against saying hello. But what would those two have cared anyway? They were walking arm in arm, and Johanna only had eyes for this other man, was strolling and smiling at him. But not like she smiled at him, Woyzeck. The smile one offers a child or someone of lesser mind. No, her smile was frank. He might go so far as to call it forward, and there had indeed been something about her smile that made him seethe, because afterwards he wasn't sure if it was that same night or another or weeks later. He'd been so upset and despondent that he couldn't help but seek her out on Sandgasse, despite her expressly forbidding him to do so. And then, of course, he didn't know whether or not she had been with that Buechner fellow again, or another man, and neither did he have a chance to find out, because her landlady, Frau Wognitz, had intervened with a broom and shooed him down the stairs, after which she appeared in a window and screamed for the whole neighborhood to hear, "Get on home, Woyzeck, get on home! Farewell, farewell!" The constable has finally lost his patience with him. He wants to know how this relates to the murder weapon. Did Woyzeck have it in hand the first time he set out for Funkenberg? That is to say, in the morning? Or was it only once he realized that Widow Wust had instead chosen to be involved with this soldier, what's his name? What was his name? He directs these last words to his subordinate, who quickly skims his notes and mutters his reply. "Butcher," the man says, wetting the corners of his mouth with his tongue. Or did he acquire the weapon earlier? If so, how had he come by it? W wipes his face with both hands. For the life of him, he can't understand why they are so preoccupied with the weapon itself. He is trying to get them to understand that the blade from the saber had long been in his possession. It wasn't whole. More than half of it was missing, and he had kept it in a leather-lined cloth bag. But it was missing a hilt. Is this to say he had decided to carry out the act the moment he realized that Widow Wust was not going to keep her word, and instead chose the company of that soldier, what was his name again? Buechner? No, that wasn't the case at all. "I didn't decide anything," he says as calmly and quietly as he can. "Everything had already been decided, you see, Constable. It was like a giant's hand had grabbed me by the chest, and afterwards it was like nothing had happened. I felt light-hearted," he says, staring down at his hands, which he is clasping in his lap. They've started shaking again. The constable also notes his hands. "Let's return to the day in question," he says, after casting a knowing glance at his colleague. "And after you found out that Widow Wust was in the company of that soldier Buechner, what happened next?" Woyzeck runs his hands from his hairline over his forehead and eyes, then down his chin and neck. They're shaking even harder now. His whole body is shaking. He's trying to remember. The days blur. Actually, in recent weeks, he hasn't had a fixed abode. He's mostly been drifting, borrowing a few groschen when possible.